I'm ready to slash and burn.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And this is going to be a recurring segment on the show, since everybody loved the fact that I did a recap episode in week one. So I was like, why not keep doing this? And number two, why not invite Ashley from Team Udder Destruction on to do this with me? Because, I will tell you that when I did the Milk Tank episode originally, I had never, talked to Ashley before. And then when I did, I was like, how are we not already friends? Like, how is that not a thing? So I'm happy to have Ashley on the show to break this down with me.
I'm so happy to be back. I'm super excited to break down these 14 matches from episode 2 and 3 and see what it's all about and go over it all. I'm excited. I'm ready. I've watched them a couple times. I'm ready to go.
Yes, that is awesome. And I think it's fun to have someone on who is a builder, and you may have a little bit of insight that I wouldn't necessarily pick up on as someone who is like completely knows BattleBots really well, but completely foreign to the whole building process and things like that. So yeah, and what better way to start the episode than to talk about the fight that spawned HyperBlaze or Sawshock, or whichever iteration you prefer to go off of, Hypershock versus Sawblaze to start that episode. I mean,
yeah, you don't get better than that as an opening. Like, yeah, you get cool end matches, but when you kick off with Jamison Go and Will Bales, you don't get better than that at all. They're both incredible drivers, just back and forth, so much destruction, absolutely incredible.
Yes. And I mean, you like to think that maybe at some point, hey, that saw blade is going to get stuck somewhere, and then it does, and it just stays there and they can't get it out. And I'm sure that's not necessarily the way that either of them wanted that match to end, because to see them go toe to toe for like a full 3 minutes, that would have been epic. Yeah. But it still was a really interesting way for that fight to go down.
Oh, absolutely. And to watch at the end of it, for them to be like, it was very so far stuck, it took hours to get it apart. That is not something anybody wants to go to. For Jameson to have to remove the entire arm of Sawblaze, for them to have to be able to get it out of Hypershock, you're like, okay, that's some, and for Will to say that it didn't hit anything and it just got stuck, that's pretty lucky too, because at that point you're deep in those internals and you can hit a wire at a fire. They could have had a fire, it could have gone out of control. So for it to end like that, at least it ended pretty cleanly as well.
That is true, because as we know, Sawblaze has been involved in a number of fire-related robot incidents, whether that be on the giving or receiving end. So
exactly.
It was...
Yeah, you try to avoid fire as much as possible.
Yeah, they're not too good for the internals of the robot. So
can speak for experience on that one. It's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Yes. So really amazing, solid start to the season for Sawblaze. A little bit of a disappointment for Hypershock, because coming off of the Vegas Vengeance Golden Bolt whole situation where they just dialed in so much. But there's a whole rest of the season, so there's plenty of time to go there.
Absolutely. I'm definitely excited to see what both robots have in store for the rest of the season, without a doubt. They're just two incredible drivers and two incredible teams too. I have no doubt they'll both go far.
Yes. So we went from that to a match that I just talked about, doing a separate interview, is Fusion versus Emulsifier. So that one was,
should have brought my Emulsifier scarf that they were kind enough to give us after our Vodka Tank fight. But yes, it was incredible to see Emulsifier as a 250. Obviously, we're very friendly with them. I guess that's a good word for it. And you know, they're really awesome guys from New York, and obviously Matt's from Ohio, but it was really cool to see that robot scaled up, and it looked absolutely incredible.
Yes, I was very impressed as someone who's not super familiar with that robot, because as everybody knows, I'm fairly a Norwalk virgin. I haven't been watching it for very long, so you know, I don't know the whole history, but to see it come out, it looked really good against Fusion, who surprisingly also looked really good. I mean, like Fusion, I've always believed Fusion had a lot of capability. It just doesn't always work out very well. And in that match, obviously, it did work out very well.
Yeah, exactly. For it to keep driving for 3 minutes, like even Reese said at the end, he's like, I went 3 minutes and I got the win. And that's very unusual for Fusion. But yeah, unfortunately, they still had fire problems. And so hopefully they can work that out. But to see those robots go toe to toe, like even Matt to be able to bounce back from being upside down and be able to self-right and the weapon continue to spin, like they're both very durable robots this year, without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's funny because I saw like a few people, I mean, like you're always going to see two opinions on pretty much everything, but I've seen a few people say that second episode was a bit of a letdown because it wasn't as exciting as the first episode. And I'm like, did you watch the first two matches? Like, did you?
Like, seriously? Seriously, there was some carnage, like without a doubt, in those first two matches. Yeah,
yes. Good on Reese for coming out with a win, for the first match of the season. Emulsifier obviously is going to have to go back and look at things and see what else that they have to do, but it was just a phenomenal match. And I mean, like, that's what you want to see either way.
Absolutely, 100%. Like even at the end, like Emulsifier, like even having the double treads on the tires, like they were able to continue moving. Like even though it wasn't 100% controlled, like they could still keep moving, and they had one internal belt that was pushing the robot, so the durability is there.
Yes, absolutely. So the next match on the slate was robots just wanted to get stuck in that episode. Mammoth versus Valkyrie. And I was very excited because I know that Valkyrie, first of all, coming in with Lucy Dew as the new captain, which I love Lucy so much, and I was so excited to see
awesome.
her first match, and then going up against Mammoth, which I know that Ricky had kind of weighed about whether to bring Mammoth back and stuff after the past season, but it was one of those other, hey, this is like two Norwalk folks squaring off against each other kind of match, and it was exciting. Kind of the Valkyrie getting stuck there, and from my understanding they were stuck together much longer than what it seemed on TV.
Yeah, I saw that Valkyrie had posted on Facebook that they did have to remove the bots from the cage and actually unstick them, and it wasn't as quick on TV as it just looked like Ricky pushed them back and it was like done. It seemed like it was much longer than that. And I talked to Zoe after the fact, and I was like, Zoe, is there anything you want to say about the match? And she's like, well, for the whole time, she said Jackson slept. And I was like, that's the best fun fact ever. I guess the whole time, even through the unstick and everything, Jackson was asleep cage side, which is adorable.
That's funny. I would find it very difficult to sleep in that vicinity there.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was so Cody and Zoe just got added to Team Mammoth, and obviously we're really close to Team Honeycracked at NHRL. So it was Cody's first time operating the weapon at the box. So stuff like that, as their friends and stuff, it was really cool to see at the end of the day, even though Mammoth completely lost all of its arms and everything, it was just wow, there's really a lot of love and a lot of family in this match, and it was really cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. And it was a bit shocking and jarring to see a mammoth fall apart like that, because I that's not what you normally see. It was very unfortunate for them. I'm
Yeah.
sure Lucy felt really great about starting the season with a win, because coming in as a new captain, I mean, I think that that's ultimately what you want to do, and it sets you up for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. It sets a pace for like, all right, I'm here. This is my team. I got this. I can do this. Let's go and see what happens next, for sure.
Yes. So the next match was Mad Catter versus Whiplash. And I don't know that I really had necessarily a prediction for this, because I mean, Whiplash, like, both bots have amazing drivers, like flat out, like crazy amazing drivers. So, you know, with that alone, you don't know how it's going to go. And they're both
Absolutely.
really good robots. I mean, Whiplash, just like great control, like multiple options for attacking you, and Mad Catter, like, is a KO machine, as evidenced by last season. So, you
Right.
know, like, I was surprised to see Whiplash get so manhandled, because I thought that the match would be much closer, but like really good on Mad Catter for starting the season that way.
Yeah, Calvin Eva is just an incredible driver, and so is Maddie Vasquez. At the end of the day, like you said, they're both incredible drivers, and it's funny, you like watch the mini bots and stuff go around the cage, and obviously Mad Catter has a flamethrower mini bot, and you're just like, oh, shades of Calvin, like, okay, but like just incredible driving back and forth, just absolutely. I'm excited to watch both robots this season for those guys.
Yes. And I especially loved that they had JMO come out, you know, box side and do commentary, and then give a Martin Mason impersonation, which I didn't even know that JMO had in his wheelhouse, but it was pretty good.
I always feel like we're learning something new about JMO, and it was like really cool to kind of see that side of him, because I've always just seen the competitor side of him. So to like hear him actually like talk and like share his experiences, like it just brings like a different level and a more like personalized feel to, like, especially because he's fought both drivers and obviously knows Calvin very, very well and stuff like that. So it's cool to get that other perspective too. For It's not like he was watching guys that he didn't know. Like, he was watching his friends, and like it just brings that whole like feel together.
Yes, yes, definitely. It was very entertaining.
Definitely.
And so, you know, we got to kind of go from that to see a rookie robot versus a sophomore robot in Banshee versus Switchback. And, you know, Banshee obviously coming in new, you know, you never know how that's going to go. And Switchback doing really a complete redesign of the robot, which I loved it in the first season, because I thought that the weapon mechanic was so innovative. And I was curious to see what it would do. Obviously didn't have like the best first season, but it looked good
It did
against
look good.
Banshee.
It looked good and it looks strong for sure. And even here, like we're still, like there's just so much NHRL, and it's like you see these guys and like Greg Medell and David Small, and like David's built a lot of robots for Norwalk, and so to see him come and like the theming is just on point, and so you're like, you get so excited because you're like, yes, like someone has like everything together, like he's just ready to go and has like, it was beautifully painted and everything like that. And then to come in against Switchback, who's just menacing looking, and like the top of the drum, just like, holy moly, I never want to ever get that close to it ever again, like it's scary. And so it was cool to see, like you said, like newbie versus sophomore, and let them kind of go toe to toe. And unfortunately, the front of Banshee got bent really early on, so there wasn't much that he could do going forward. But at the end of the day, like, it was still pretty durable and it was still running.
Yes, it was definitely still running. And like you said about, you know, kind of being on point. I mean, David has that theming with like all of the robots. You know, he has Kelpie at Norwalk. Like it's so perfect. It all goes together. And I am happy to say that I got to hold the sword while I was there. And that was one of the most exciting things of the whole entire experience.
That is so awesome. Oh, that's incredible.
Yes. Anybody that knows me knows that I have an unnatural fascination with swords, and like it's amazing I don't own one. But
Right.
I don't, and I was terribly excited to get to hold it. So
That's awesome. That's
yes.
so cool. That's great.
I'm excited to see though, what they come back with after this, because I mean, I think especially for someone who's coming in new, that first match is truly a learning experience
Oh
because you get to see your robot in a real combat situation and see how it performs, and that really helps you get those takeaways to fix it and like make it better for the next one.
exactly. There's only so much testing you can do until, battle tested means a whole lot more at the end of the day. So I'm definitely excited to see what's next.
Yes, definitely. So then we have Hijinks versus Big Dill, which like I mean, I always say I'm like, oh, I love this. I love all the teams. Like realistically,
How can you
I
not,
love them
right? Like it's
all.
hard not to, for
I
sure.
know, I know. But like Jen, her team is so fun. Like, everything with the colors and
Ugh,
stuff. And I
love
mean,
it.
Hijinks is such like I think an underrated robot because it's a really powerful weapon and it's so hard to me. I think it would be so hard to fight. And then you have Big Dill and like E-Man has had so much experience on so many different teams and like he
Yes.
knows what he's doing, and that's also a very difficult robot to fight.
Oh yeah, and the team behind him too, like with Andy and Ellis and all those guys, they're huge over there in the UK. Like those guys know what they're doing without a doubt. Like, and for them to both be able to switch up strategies at the last minute, like Hijinks putting on their heaviest weapon and Big Dill coming out with this huge wedge, like okay, like they're ready to fight. And I think it's cool that BattleBots was able to give them their schedule because then they do prepare, and then you really see them go toe to toe with what they're they're really ready to fight their opponent. Like you're not just going in not knowing, you're going in ready to fight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that was a really good, like, tight back and forth match. I thought it was enjoyable. I was excited to see, both of those teams get to, kind of showcase some of what they can do. And I mean, I think that it sets up for an interesting rest of the season, because again, we can see the schedule. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to go.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, Hijinks is such a cool robot, and to have like what it's like a 48-inch blade, like that's absolutely nuts. That's and so and to have so many different blade configurations to go into different matches with is really cool. So like that we're gonna see something different from them the next time that they fight.
Yes, you never know. We'll see how it.
Literally, you never know.
Yes, we will see how it goes. And then the main event in week 2 was Blip versus Endgame, and like I love Blip. It's such like Aaron is so good at making robots.
What he does. Yeah.
and like doing these like really innovative, groundbreaking things with them. And yeah, I mean, Blip was fantastic in its rookie season, but Endgame is like insane.
Yeah.
I would not want to go like anywhere near that weapon. And I don't think that it was a good matchup for Blip because Blip really needs to be able to get under robots, and you're not going to get under Endgame.
No, you're not. Endgame has that ground game. There was no chance. And for them to get Blip right upside down and pull those wedge lifts off, like there was, and Blip is such a strong robot, and that it's fully capable of throwing Endgame into the air. But when it can't get underneath it, you're just like, oh no, that stinks. Because like I want to see some robots fly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I thought it was funny too how Endgame was kind of talking about Blip's parts getting like sucked up into the weapon and everything else like that. And like it was nice to hear them say that like, hey, Aaron's robots give us some of the worst trouble. And I think that was a real compliment, because Endgame is a very confident team, and I don't think that they're typically willing to say that other bots are capable of going up against them.
Right. They're there for the nut, and that's what matters. But they came out and they were just like, yeah, no, Aaron gives us a run for our money. So I'm definitely excited to see what both robots have in store. Endgame looked so mean coming out the gate, and so we'll see. But it's gonna be a good season, I think, for sure, for both of them.
Yes, yes. Yeah, super excited. And Blip, I just have to mention this because I think it's a funny thing on the schedule that later in the season they will be facing their team partner of Tantrum.
Right. It's like their third fight, right?
So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm excited to see how that goes down.
Absolutely. You always want to see. I mean, I'm sure Aaron doesn't want to see the two bots go to toe to toe, but at the end of the day, like, you want to see brother and sister go toe to toe.
It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that kind of wrapped up week 2. I thought that it was a great episode,
Absolutely.
personally, but we kind of went into week 3 this past week, and I cannot tell you how excited I was for the first match to be Death Roll coming back after a couple of seasons, because I just love that robot so much. I was less excited to see that its first opponent was Cobalt, because I mean, let's face it,
builds scary
they're
robots.
they're both destructive. They are both super destructive. And so, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I mean, the reality, which is what kind of got highlighted in that match, was that Cobalt's weapon is higher than Death Roll's. And so when it comes down to going face to face, what's going to happen. And unfortunately Death Roll didn't do enough to stay away from that weapon and hitting it in the spots that it needed to, and kind of got destroyed, which is not something that I'm used to seeing Death Roll do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And for them to get knocked around so much and just being bounced around with their weapons still spinning while they're in the air, and being able to just like bounce all around the cage, and then once they got shoved up into the corner, it was in the polarizer, it was like, oh, that's not good. Like, that's not how you want to go out first shot after coming back. But the robot looked good, so I think we'll see what they come back with for sure.
Yes. I hope that they can go back and kind of regroup, because I want to see them do well. I mean, it's been a couple of years. 2019 was obviously an amazing year for them until they kind of ran into Witch Doctor, and that ended their season. But yeah, we'll see what they do. And as far as Cobalt is concerned, they definitely picked up where they left off after the Ghost Raptoring. And we'll see if that destructive nature continues.
Yeah, they definitely looked aggressive, and so it'll be interesting to see how far they take it this year, definitely.
Yes. So the next match was, I mean, a bit of a surprise, but not, because we all know that Claw Viper is fast. That's not a secret at all. Obviously they were fighting a new robot in Ominous, which is truly one of the prettiest robots that I've ever seen. It is freaking beautiful.
Yes.
But you don't know how it's going to go. I know that they use the Omni wheels. Glitch had problems with the Omni wheels last season, so I mean, that's always kind of a question. But Claw Viper, not only were they like fast, but faster than they've ever been, and they looked good.
Yes, Kevin's driving was all amazing. He was so tight on Ominous to pick him up and carry him in the box and lift him. He was on it, and he never let up, and he was not showing any weakness for this season at all out the gate.
Yes. And I mean, it was very aggressive, and anybody that knows me and like my stance on robot fighting, I'm really glad that they changed the rules this season in terms of like for non-engagement and stuff, because I love aggressive robot fighting. I love a robot that just attacks. And that's my personal opinion. And some people might prefer situations where a robot just sits back and waits for people to come to them. I don't. I like attack. And that's all Claw Viper did that whole match. And it was just phenomenal. And as somebody who has a soft spot for control bots, I'm excited to see what they do this season.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's an incredible builder. He's an incredible driver, and he showed us that he is here to fight, and he is not going to let anybody get in his way.
Yes, absolutely. So talking about aggressive bots, the next
jump
match,
right into this next match.
Yeah, it kind of good segue. You know, Copperhead and Bloodsport are both aggressive bots, very destructive, and so you know, I was excited about this match for a number of reasons. First of all, you don't normally get to watch matches, and aside from like people obviously that have been in you know BattleBots for years, to be like, I know those people. To see Chris and Lindsay from Behind the Bots and Norwalk with Team Copperhead was so exciting and fun. And yeah, I mean, like, it was just great. I mean, I love Copperhead. I always have. I think that it's not. Minotaur's my favorite robot. Of course, I like a drum bot, you know.
Right.
And you know, just the theme and everything, and like everybody on that team is such great people. I can tell you, like, I met pretty much everyone when I was at filming, and they are just like truly amazing people. Not to say Team Bloodsport isn't. I mean, I met a couple of their team as well, but I mean, like, it was a great match. And I will say, as much as I know Copperhead is destructive, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this was again NHRL. So WPI, you know, Seth, Nick, all those guys, like, and then Chad and Luke, and then yeah, Chris and Lindsay. Like, you don't get better than that. And of course, you know, Max steals the show because you're 4 and he's the best ever. I got to hang out with Max at December finals. We played cars for like 2 hours on the floor on Friday night. So he's like one of my buds now, which is awesome. But yeah, Copperhead looked mean. I got to see it while I was there as well. That 50-pound drum is definitely no joke, and it came out and it hit hard. And I don't, for the self-rider on Bloodsport to burst like in the middle of the air without being hit, just based on impact, it's like, that hits hard. And holy moly, what's coming from it next? Like, what's it gonna hit next?
Yes, exactly. It looked really good. I mean, personally, I think that if Copperhead keeps doing that, it's gonna have a really great season. And I'm here for it. So
Absolutely. I want to see them go far for sure.
yes. So then we go into really 2 veterans of the sport, because you know, obviously Donald's been doing it longer, but still, like, Bunny's been around for quite some time. Lockjaw versus Malice. And you know, I was really excited because I so badly want Malice to just have a freaking knockout season this year. And they've done a lot of work and put that work into the robot, and then to kind of have the weapon, you know, get knocked around and not really working. I was sad. I was happy for Donald, because I mean, Lockjaw went winless last year, which is insane to me. And I think for him, having that first match and getting a win probably meant a lot. But you know, it was tough for Bunny. Like, you could see it in her face. It was very tough for Bunny to you know, not come away with a win in that match. But I mean, like, hopefully that builds up for the future matches.
Absolutely. I think that, I mean, they ran their lighter weapon during that match, Malice did. So, and I know that Bunny has 3 to 4, I'm sure, more configurations. So we're definitely not done seeing what Malice is capable of. But for Donald to be able to get there in that wedge, to be able to almost stop the weapon from completely moving and just getting all of the damage in, it was a really good fight to watch. And Donald is an incredible driver, but I'm definitely interested because I would like to see Bunny go on a run for sure.
Yes, I would. She is one of my daughter's most favorite people in the entire world. Like she loves Bunny so much. She gets really sad when Malice loses. So I'm definitely hoping for a turnaround there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we got to see the BattleBots debut of Triton versus Lucky, which I was terribly excited because like Brad's a great guy. Obviously, like, you know, it's unfortunate kind of the way things happen with Deep Six and that they weren't able to bring that robot, but you know, what we're able to bring Triton, which is kind of like a Deep Six tombstone-ish cut, you know, like very big, powerful weapon. And then, you know, Lucky coming back after showing some promise last season. I mean, like Matt Olson is a great driver. And I think that like that match highlighted his abilities. I mean, they didn't get the spectacular flips really that you see from Hydra, but it was still a very well balanced match. Unfortunate that I don't think that, again, like matchup way wise, that was necessarily the best matchup for Triton. But it was still a really good match.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Triton definitely was taking hits to Lucky, and you could see that there was damage on Lucky's wedge, but that wedge was so beefy that they were just, Matt was just like, okay, like let's play, and just kept hitting and was like, I'll take your hits all day long and I'm gonna outdrive you. And he showed why he's a fantastic driver. I got to talk to Mark while I was out in Vegas. I think they had like 7 frames with them. Like they were so prepared for this season. They knew what they were going into without a doubt. But it was, Triton looked absolutely beautiful. The colors on the weapon just really, really cool. And Brad and Shay are awesome. And so it'll be really fun to watch how that robot continues through the season.
Yes, definitely. I hope to see, you know, more things. And yes, like Brad's awesome. I love Shay. Really hoping to, you know, to see some improvement in the next match and maybe like watch some real carnage from Triton, which it is fully capable of.
Oh, absolutely.
So then we have a match that featured 2 of my favorite couples in BattleBots, Zach and Diana with Scorpios and Jeff and Kat with Jackpot. Like just great people on both sides. And I know that the teams are friends as well, which is great. You know, I was happy to see Scorpios really do well. And you can tell how much that match meant to Zach and Diana. Like they were so pleased with how it went. And, you know, I couldn't be happier for them. You know, didn't go so well for Jackpot, but I mean, that's the thing, is that when you go a couple of seasons with people underestimating you and not realizing the reach of your weapon, and then everybody's like, oh, now we know what the weapon reach of Jackpot is, so we're going to prepare for it, then you kind of lose that advantage a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scorpios definitely came out prepared for sure with those huge forks on the front of it. They were ready to go. They wanted to get under Jackpot so that they could get those hits in, and they did. And I was so excited to see Scorpios get a win. Zach and Diana are 2 of my favorite people to watch, and they always have been. I got to talk to them when I was out there, and Diana was like, oh, Milk Tank. And I was like, oh, like that means so much to me. So to watch them get a win was really awesome. And, you know, I'm excited because Jeff is coming to Norwalk, so we've never actually really seen him build on a smaller level. So it'll be really fun to kind of see that as well, and then maybe even learn a little bit more about Jackpot too.
Yes. There's certainly, I think, a robot that surprised a lot of people because it's, you know, they didn't put the money into that robot in the first season like a lot of other builders do. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the robot's going to be less effective just because you didn't spend, you know, tons of money to do it. They managed to put something together that's a little bit more affordable, but still packs a punch. And I think that that's awesome. And I'm glad to, you know, see them kind of continue to evolve. I know, like, I got a chance to see some of their different weapon things and different designs that Jeff was working on, and it just got me really excited because I love that, you know, they're from Vegas. They've really embraced that theme, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like they have a lot of potential for sure to continue to like do things with their different configurations. So he'll be a lot of fun to watch for sure.
Yes. So that brings us to the last match from this past episode. And I think that it featured two robots where the captains may have felt like they had a lot to prove in some way or another, with Hydra going out to Tantrum last season and Rotator getting absolutely obliterated by Glitch in the Sin City Slugfest. Those were both really tough losses to kind of end the season with. And so coming back, you really want to do well. And, unfortunately, for Victor, his robot spent a lot of time in the air again, which is, I'm sure, not what he wanted to see. And then on Jake's part, really, I think the difference there is that because of, how Jake felt about the prior season, he had so much motivation and like this pent up frustration over it, and it had to go somewhere. And it all went out in that first match. I mean, he wasn't going to do what he normally does and just wait for people to come to him. He went full throttle aggressive. And to be honest, I love that version of Hydra. Like that excites me. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, it was almost like heartbreaking to hear that Victor was having issues prior to the match because, you want to see robots go in 100% and know that they're really going to show everything that they're capable of. And I don't know if we saw everything that that Rotator was capable of. And I think that there was still a little bit, it seemed like the weapon was slow. I don't know if that was just me, but I do feel like Victor has more to work on and he will come back even stronger for his second match. But yeah, Jake's driving was absolutely incredible. He went full in. There was no stopping him, and he is 100% out for revenge this season. And I would be scared of that robot without a doubt.
Yes, and as we know, his next match is against Tantrum. So I am very sure that he will be planning to do very much of the same. Whether he's successful at that or not is another situation, because I'm sure, Tantrum has their own motivations to win that match as well. So should be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a match to watch without a doubt. There's no, and it's cool that we get to see like such a large caliber match, like in the preliminaries. So that this season is going to be out of control, because if you're starting off with like those as your second round matches, like where are we going? Like what else are we going to see?
Right, exactly. And I'm curious from your perspective, like, as a competitor and things like that, that when you see the schedule makers making that decision to take the two most controversial matches from last season and do rematches this year, do you think that that's like a good thing where like you can say, okay, here we're definitively saying here's the winner of this match? Like, do you think that that's a good thing?
I don't really know if it's a good thing or not. I mean, it's a great way to see like how much better the robots have gotten from that final match of last season. But at the same time, it's like, that's a championship matchup. And I'm seeing that this early, like, you have a lot to live up to almost at that point. And you're just like, okay, so I definitely think it could go either way. But I feel like there's a lot of those bigger matches this year. Like, we're going to see Huge versus Star Child. The Blip versus the Tantrum. You're going to see those like big time matchups that you're like, all right, these robots are really similar. Like, what is going to happen?
And Shatter versus Beta.
Yeah, exactly. Goodness.
I know. So, I mean, like, in a lot of ways, I think that it's really cool, that I think that they have very smartly planned out the matchups for this season and are really having matchups that the fans are going to want to see, that are going to gauge a lot of interest, and draw people in because they're like, oh my gosh, I have to see like who wins this match. And I mean, I didn't see any of the qualifying, so I don't know what the result is of any of these things, but I know how the season turns out. And I mean, I can say just from that perspective, this is going to be just like a really epic season. Like, I am so excited as a fan to like have BattleBots just grow by leaps and bounds in terms of, you know, what you're going to see from week to week watching it. I think is exciting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't there for any of the beginning either. So we're doing this together because I only went for a couple days. So it was like the round of 32 and the round of 16. So we're going through this beginning together. But, you know, in the next week, we'll see the last of the 8 robots that we haven't even met yet this season. So there's still more to come, which is crazy.
Exactly. Which that's going to feature, you know, like you said, some of the robots that we haven't seen, including Monsoon, which is another robot that has been away for a little while. And I am so like, I cannot say how excited I am because I love that team so much. They have some of the best energy where it's just like pure unbridled passion for what they're doing. And so I think next week is going to be like living up to what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I am so excited. We'll see the debut of Shred It Bro. So
Yes.
obviously, like that's Evan Arias and his whole team that he brought this year was full of my friends, Alex Pezzett, Angel Vidal, Michael and his dad, just like such a strong team. And then we're gonna see Star Child finally. I cannot wait to see this creation from Team Omega. It looked absolutely beautiful in the pit, so I can't wait to see it inside of the box.
Yes, and by Omega team, not a cult, just reminding people.
No, not at all. Nope, no. I'm not wearing a shirt or anything. No, not.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited to see both of those teams because I mean, I know especially like with Shred It Bro, like Evan I know he's excited to bring this robot to BattleBots. I mean, it's something that he's competed with at Norwalk and everything. So I'm excited to see it debut, see how it does. I know like everyone on that team has so much passion. So yeah, like this is going to be epic. And of course we will talk about that because I know you are itching to talk about your fellow Norwalk competitors and how they're doing at BattleBots. So we will be doing that in a couple of weeks, but two really great solid episodes. Looking very forward to more to come.
Heck yeah, it's gonna be a season for sure. And I'm looking forward to doing this with you more for sure.
Yes. So if everybody loves this recap collab with Ashley, please let me know. I mean, it does, even if you don't like it, we're gonna keep doing it.
Sorry.
It's too bad, but if you do love it, please let us know. So yeah, just everyone keep watching. Like I cannot even express like the lineup of shows that I'm going to have this season talking about robots. I am so excited I can barely stand it. So just so much exciting stuff to come. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do that because then you're going to get notified of the content pretty quickly so that you can watch. And we'll talk to you next time on the show.
Yeah, definitely.